It's the Romhack podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, and owls, and other fantastic individuals, we are here for yet another exciting week of the Romhack podcast. And this week we have special guest Menblock. Let's give a round of applause for Menblock.
Oh.
Yes, hello. How are you doing today, Menblock?
Doing good.
Doing good.
It's a nice evening.
Yes, I was gonna say. For those that don't know, Menblock is in this magical place called the Netherlands. So he's doing us a favor right now, basically doing the interview from what, pretty much 10, 11?
It's 10 p.m.
I was right the first time. Yeah, so he's actually in the future.
But like if you look, I am an owl canonically, so night owl, it works out.
It's true. I was gonna say, in fact, he himself encouraged the time, so he went out of his way to make sure that we were gonna do it. But anyways, let's start this going strong. Let's start with the question that everyone's dying to know, and that is, who is Menblock?
Well, as I said, I'm an owl. That's all you need to know.
That's all we're getting. All right. An owl. So
that's all you're getting.
Sentient owl? Are you like what's the lore here?
I am a programmer owl, so that's an interesting fact of me. I really love puzzles. I love strategy RPGs and like regular RPGs. I also like studying to become a low-level systems engineer. Like that's the direction I want to go in terms of programming.
Oh wow, cool.
So that's also why I really like the world of romhacking, because it's very low level, all the stuff you gotta do. It really reminds me of all the puzzles I do.
Yeah, it's like I've heard you mention that before, the idea that programming and logic, and they're not so different. It's kind of just solving the problem, so to speak.
Yeah, they really go hand in hand.
Huh.
You need a bit of logic to do programming, and sometimes a bit of programming knowledge can also help you like skip out on some logic.
And it's funny because most people will just say like, oh, you need math. But I guess they didn't mean it like in an umbrella way. They kind of mean more in like the logical way, right? I mean, obviously you do need some elements of math. Like
mathematics is quite a broad spectrum, and most people know math in like the calculus world and algebra, so working with numbers. Maybe you have an x squared somewhere that you need to solve, But like mathematics is so much more broader. You can go into like that calculus world, and then you go like through physics and stuff. You can also go the more abstract way, and then you get into the world of logic and computer programming.
And that's kind of the field we're exploring
today, right? It is a wholly different beast.
Yeah.
Everything is based on, you gotta solve a certain problem at hand. You gotta find stuff properly and think reasonably in steps to get to your solution.
And do you find like you can like repeat that process, so to speak?
It is a very systematic way of thinking, which is why I really like math.
Yeah. Okay, so to transition to that, like, what was the first hack you ever saw?
Well, the first hack I ever saw, like that I can remember, is probably the Secret of Mana Randomizer.
No way.
Funnily enough, like I've had my eyes on the project for like quite a while before I started working on it.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
It was like one of the first things I saw. I never ran it because the antivirus would complain, and I wasn't yet too confident to say no to the antivirus.
That's so funny.
So that like made me delay playing that for a couple of years until I like rediscovered it and didn't wasn't afraid anymore of the antivirus.
Like how would you watch it then? Like were you watching it through like streams or videos or YouTube or like how did you watch it?
Well, I wasn't even like involved with any communities and stuff. I like knew it because I found it on the internet one day. Never seen a playthrough or anything.
Yeah, it's almost like you kept it in your mind, but you didn't really like. Yeah, you didn't explore it further at that point.
Yeah.
Like you said, yeah, the antivirus and all that.
And so like, even though I saw Secret of Mana randomizer first, I probably played the Pokemon randomizer, like one of the Pokemon randomizers
no
first.
way. Did you remember which one? Like Red, Blue, Emerald, or like?
I think it was Pokemon Black and White one.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
It's like my favorite Pokemon game of all time.
So
Gen 4 and Gen 5, they're so good.
But wait, who's your favorite then? Or do you not have a favorite?
I like them both for like different reasons. Gen 4 with like Heart Gold and Soul Silver was extremely big, and had like the cute Pokemon following you around and stuff.
Yeah,
it was a very cutesy and nostalgic game, and then Pokemon Black and White was just solid in all aspects.
I loved how
really
good
good socially as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they actually required you to use the.
I've played with friends in the Dream World like for so long.
That's so cool. But I like how it really kind of got you into the spirit of all this, right? Like Pokemon and Secret of Mana and like all these things like even with Secret of Mana, I never really asked you before, but like, well, what made you fall in love with that game, or like what made you what drew you to that game?
What made me fall in love with that game? I've had that game since I can remember. Like we always had a Super Nintendo that I would play on. We had like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Mario Kart, Super Mario World, and Secret of Mana.
So, question: did Secret of Mana release for you? Was that one of the games that actually came out in Europe?
It was like, yes, it came out in Europe.
Okay. So I know you guys missed out on a bunch of games. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was more just curious because I've always heard like Europe missed out on all these great games, and I was like,
luckily not on Secret of Mana.
Yeah.
The funny thing was I didn't know English then because I was like 5 or 6 when I first started that game.
Huh.
And basically, I just brute forced my way through. Every time I did a story cutscene, I was like, okay, let's go through all of the world again because I don't know where I'm going.
Oh my god, yeah. It's
so
funny because
it really made me explore every nook and cranny, which is also why I still remember the map so vividly.
That's how you played the game, yeah. Like that's why the
I explored the whole map probably 6 times at least.
You could almost say you could do it with your eyes closed.
yeah.
For those that don't know, he's working on a little project there, where he may or may not play the whole game without vision, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. So that shows you how much I've played that game.
Yeah, like literally, not that joke about playing with your eyes closed is not the Menblock. That is not a joke.
Yeah.
Although you can just turn your head around, right? You could just. So what made you go from player to ROM hacker, or were you always kind of like a ROM hack or like a programmer first, and then because you have more of a background with programming, right? So how did that?
Yeah, my background definitely is in the programming. I've always been extremely curious about things, and it was very clear that I had an aptitude for computers because in primary school, even teachers would just come into the classroom and ask me for help.
They would ask you for help. That's hilarious.
Yeah, they wouldn't go to the systems administrator. No, they would go to me.
That's funny.
Because they wanted me to have
They wanted to fix.
They were like, let's give him some fun things to do.
But honestly, that's like a good teaching, right? It actually gave you the confidence and the skills and all the stuff that
it definitely helped. In final grade of primary school, I started Minecrafting, and that really evolved my skills. First, I was a little bit of a script kiddie, doing little batch scripts and VB scripts on my computer.
Yeah.
Then later in Minecraft, I started doing redstone and stuff, which escalated to making super cool calculators.
I was gonna say, explain redstone for those that don't know, for those that don't play Minecraft.
Yeah. So redstone is basically a Minecraft blocky way of doing logic. So you have lines that you can turn on or off, and based on other blocks, they interact with the on and off signals in a certain way. And you can make basically anything with it. It's proven that anything that you can compute can be made in Redstone.
I mean, I've seen emulators, so I feel like there's no limit, really. Like,
It's called
right?
Turing completeness. If you can make a very limited amount of logic gates, then you can prove that that everything can be computed.
So once they make Minecraft inside Minecraft, that's when it's done, right? Like that's
I
the
think
peak.
someone already did.
Oh, it's wrap it up, boys. That's it. Like, boys and girls.
And I think like people were even saying like make Minecraft in Minecraft in Minecraft now.
Yeah, we're at that point now, right? Like just keep multiplying it. Okay, so
then I went into Minecraft, and yeah, after that I started going more into the Linux world and stuff.
okay.
Which later got me like in the Twitch community, and then everything kicked off.
So what were like those early Linux projects you work on? Like, you don't like what kind of projects were they?
It was basically getting Linux to work in the first place, because
That kind of is a Romhack.
user experience definitely has improved the last couple of years by a lot.
Yeah,
Even
I
a
keep
few years
hearing
ago,
that,
it still wasn't that usable.
So could you explain some of the difficulties? Like, what'd you have to do?
Well, one of the things is gaming. There was like no real support for any video games in the space.
Wow.
Well, now we have Proton, in which virtually every game that I've encountered just works.
Even my game.
Yeah, even your game.
I still have to put that information up somewhere. But yeah, that's so interesting. Just your experience with your early life and teachers asking you for help, an operating system that allowed you the freedom to like learn more information. But how early did you know that you wanted to kind of go into this field? Like, was it like right away, or was it kind of like as the years progressed, or because right now you sound very confident.
It was
you know what I
definitely
mean?
rather soon. Like once I did like Minecraft, Redstone, and command block stuff, I definitely knew, okay, I'm going to work with computers because
Okay.
I like that.
And how long ago was that, like, give or take?
How long? Say 10 years ago.
Okay. So yeah, so that's pretty solid. That's a good. So yeah, I'm just curious if we have like a little like time frame. You know what I mean? Just like we can like see your journey over the years. So yeah, so pretty much Minecraft happened. You saw the Secret of Mana randomizer. You were cautious about it at first because of course, you know, it's the internet. You never know what's gonna happen there.
Exactly, especially since I didn't know the community, because I didn't look any
true.
of that up. It was just a randomizer that I saw on the sketchy website.
And yeah, and like, and it's hard to know like Discords. There's so many things that like you're not gonna know, right? Like
Discord didn't even exist yet by then.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, because yeah, if we're talking like 10 years ago, right? Yeah, of course. Although the project is the Secret of Mana randomizer like 10 years old or older, or like how old is it?
I don't think like the Discord existed back when I first discovered it. But once I started because I found the Discord through that website.
No, I'm just curious.
That gave me the confidence that it's actually not a virus.
Yeah, like you see other people playing it and like actually using it.
Yeah, exactly.
But my question is, it's more I guess for Moppleton. But how old is the randomizer? Do you know?
I actually don't know, but I could check.
Yeah, because I know it started as an ancient cave, and that was based off like Lufia 2, right? Like that kind of idea.
Yeah.
And Lufia 2 is basically the first randomizer.
That's when I first noticed it. There wasn't an open world yet. The render was, I believe, still in development.
Because I know this part of history. Like Lufia 2 is basically the first like randomizer people like tried to create for the most part. Besides Pokemon, like and Zelda, but like you know those are a different league. But Lufia 2, I think, inspired a lot of other RPGs to do that. That's why you saw like Free Enterprise for FF4 and like Ancient Cave style stuff for other games. But then it turned out Secret of Mana just worked very, very well for open world. Like very well.
Let's see, in the archives it says 2016.
Okay.
That's basically when Discord like started, I think.
Yeah. And it makes sense that there wouldn't, yeah, it's still a new platform. It takes like a couple years to get established, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's really cool though. So yeah, so pretty much from the onset, you've always kind of wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
So Do you remember any of your early like Romhack projects, or has it always been through the randomizer? Like, did you ever try to do like your own thing?
Well, in terms, like, not necessarily ROM hacking, but more like game modding and stuff, and using the Minecraft redstone system a lot.
Oh, I guess I can, yeah, for sure, yeah, that 100% counts, yeah.
Eventually, I even went to, like, the command block projects. In fact, I even was working on a Pixelmon project before Pixelmon existed.
Wow.
I'm trying to get it to work with vanilla command blocks, and I actually stopped working on it because Pixelmon released during development. I got very discouraged. Yeah, I was like, yeah, they did this way better because they didn't use command blocks. They actually used like Minecraft mods.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, that makes more sense.
I got a battle system and random encounters like all working.
Oh wow, wow, you got far with it. Like you were
yeah, I actually it was a spaghetti fest because it was basically my first big programming project. But
that's the fact that you chose Minecraft is like impressive and scary and daunting and impressive. Like that's cool. After that, you must have been like, man, this is so easy.
Like I learned a lot from that project.
For sure, right? Did you have any like influences, like the things like? Did you find like there was outside things, or like when you were making these kind of like Minecraft projects?
I was like into YouTube a bit, so I did see like a lot of like Mambo Jumbo and Izuma Void, like those kind of YouTubers that were also like in the Redstone world and
cool.
all that advanced Minecraft stuff.
That's so cool. I always love hearing about just like the early influences because it's always fascinating. Like, you hear about these people, you're like, who are these people? Some people in chat might know who they are, but that's so cool. Yeah. And so, like, what about now? Do you still follow the same people? Are they still around? Like, do you still follow Minecraft stuff? I know you've mentioned it changed a lot.
Well, I haven't really been into Minecraft a lot anymore. But like, from time to time, YouTube recommends me those YouTubers again, and then I sometimes watch a video or two.
Yeah, it's kind of like a
see what they're up to.
Yeah.
And still, Minecraft is still a very interesting space.
Well, what's like a current development that you saw, or like or in the last year or something?
The last year, yeah, I think Mambo Jumbo is still basically doing the same thing with a lot of Redstone projects and the Hermitcraft series.
It must be so complicated now. It must be like at a whole nother like level.
Definitely, compared to the first couple of videos, of course you gotta be more creative to get new content.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, that's really cool. I'm gonna check that out because I'm very curious to see like, how far has Redstone gone? I'm sure. I'm gonna be blown.
If you look a little bit, that there are complete computers made. There's the complete Minecraft. I think they even make Terraria inside of Minecraft.
Now they have to make Minecraft inside of Terraria, inside of Minecraft, and they just have to keep going. They just keep like an infinite void of.
Yeah. Like, and it's all without mods, so it's all command block based, or even only redstone. Some people don't even do command blocks; they just do the redstone alone.
Wow, that's so impressive to me.
It takes a lot of effort to get it to work. You need to know basically everything about the computer, about how a computer goes with the electrons.
Like every single aspect of it, because you're emulating every aspect of it. Like even from like the outside perspective too, right? Like that's it hurts my brain trying to think about like doing that. But that's why we have ROM hackers and modders. And I feel like modding and ROM hack are the same thing, right? Isn't it just splitting hairs?
Yeah, in a sense it is, except with modding often there's a little bit more support inherently from the game itself.
Ah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's like encouraged.
I would say that is the distinction. Like you're doing a ROM hack if you like actually need to change the game's files. You're using modding if the game already provided a little bit of a framework.
That's like a beautiful explanation of it. Yeah, like so I'm like I feel like I know there's a difference, but like I think that puts it up greatly. Yeah, like I do mod versus.
I would use that as the difference between ROM hacking and modding. Huh. That's how I would use it.
There's like a folder for mods. But yeah, no, that's perfectly put. So what's your favorite hack or mod you've ever seen?
Well, my favorite hack is gotta be the Secret of Mana Randomizer, especially like the open world mode.
Of course.
Because
how many
not
hours have
only
you
is
put
there
in? Like...
into the randomizer, it's gotta be like 200 hours or so. But if we even if we even count my normal experience with Secret of Mana, I have actually taken multiple years to beat that game. So yeah, I must have hundreds of hours in Secret of Mana.
You're making me think about that too, right? Like it's like Zelda games and stuff growing up, where it's like you get stuff
Like-
right, so you just keep going back and back and back and back. Yeah, that
Like,
adds up,
as
right?
a child, I didn't really have like anything to worry about, so I played the game in a very different way. Instead of trying to beat it, I just
Like,
scoured
lived it.
through the world and like
Yeah.
tried to find secrets and enjoyed the area that I was walking through.
Like, it's right there on the cover. It says secret. I gotta find them.
But like I regularly like flew back to the seasonal forest and just walked through it because it was a beautiful area and it was calming. The music was nice.
It's funny because I kind of miss doing that. I mean, I sometimes I try to do it on stream, but like I miss that feeling sometimes of like getting like lost in the game, like what you're describing. This like you just want to be there to listen to the
Exactly.
music and watch it happen. Like you don't want to like beat it. You just want to like exist, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
there's something really magical about that. Like only certain like pieces of technology can do that, right? Like movies, music, video games. Like it's,
Definitely. And it also just depends on like the period of life that you're living in at that
Yes.
moment.
yeah, then I feel like that's why people
Because-
like it like I do, and it's like no, like
That's why there is nostalgia, because the
Yeah.
nostalgia people have for games is because they played it in that way, instead
true.
of just trying to get through it.
or it's like they played it with their friends, or there's like a certain thing that might have happened that they don't have now with it.
Exactly.
Huh. We're getting very introspective. So what about like that you've played? So I know you've seen and played. Like, is there a difference between them? Like, is there a pack you played or a mod that was like a one-off, and you were like, "Wow, this was incredible." Assuming not Secret of Mana.
With hacks that I played, like I really like the Witness randomizer too. I like all the randomizers basically.
Honestly, randomizers are such an
especially the-
underrated part. I love them. Yeah.
Like especially the expert mode randomizer is really faithful towards like what the Witness intends, because the Witness is made to constantly give you new ways of thinking about your puzzles. That expert mode render really made me think about the puzzles differently. So that was really nice, and the fact that they get it to randomize without like soft blocking and all that stuff, because
Very
you know,
impressive.
randomized puzzles are a bit hard to generate.
And
I find
how
that quite
intense does the
impressive.
music get at the end?
Yeah,
It gets very
in
intense.
the end, you're definitely scrambling.
For those that don't know, it's sort of like a timed part that has very intense, like, what is it, Night of Bald Mountain or someone playing?
Yeah, it's the mountain theme.
Yes, yes.
In the Hall of the Mountain.
Yeah, that bup. I can't sing it or I'll get DMCA'd. But for those that don't know, Menblock is so efficient at the witness randomizer. He's able to do it as a part of a multi-world, like with other people playing other games and like. So his proficiency
I
with
played
it
a
is
lot
pretty
of
impressive.
puzzles.
Yeah, right. And you even did that hour-long puzzle where you just had to wait, and you didn't have to do it. You just did it for the fun.
Oh yeah, I just did a Sudoku in the meanwhile.
So yeah, it's very interesting just how you're able to like do all this. Like for most people, the witness is enough unrandomized, and you're like, I'm just doing it for breakfast. I think that's so cool. It's something to really aspire for, you know, like really like to challenge ourselves like intellectually more often. Like the rest of us.
So that's why I like really like maths and programming and stuff, because I basically just do puzzles all day.
Yeah, I think about that with some people where it's like, yeah, like you can always tell the people that there's always a certain type of person, right? Once you want to fix stuff and all that kind of stuff.
I like never take a break with my mind in that sense. Like if I'm like tired of a certain puzzle, I'll do a different kind of puzzle to like
Yeah,
and take a break from it
but
instead
feel
of
like
like
it uses
not
different
doing
parts.
anything.
But I mean, different puzzles require different things, right? Like a kinetic puzzle is different from like a mental puzzle is different from like a
Yeah,
music
definitely.
puzzle. So I totally get that. It's like working a different part of your brain almost,
Yeah.
or maybe literally. So give us a little like. So you have this huge background with hacking and modding and programming and Linux and all sorts of stuff. So what do you wanna tell us? Like what do you got? Do you have a project you want to share? Do you have what do you got for the chat?
I want to turn it a little bit into like a teaching experience today. So
Okay.
what I want to show you is basically like a little bit of how a system works, like how a computer or a game console works internally, especially in the part of like how to read the computer's data. Because if you know a couple of formats, you can gather a surprising amount of info, even if you don't know anything about programming. That's what I want to learn you today, to like figure out that kind of stuff really quickly.
I love that. Yeah. So surprise, surprise, everyone is going to be learning today, and these are hacks that I believe that they could even do at home, like follow along, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll have the links in the description, so you're able to download things that you need to get or anything that Menblock talks about. So look out for that, and Twitch chat too. We can probably throw down links and stuff too if anyone's interested. But yeah, so that's kind of like a little preview of what's to come. So how do you begin a project? Like how would you start? Like okay, you're right. I'm gonna hack Secret of Mana or Trials of Mana or whatever it is. How am I gonna begin this project? Like what are your steps? How do you outline this? How do you?
Definitely previously I just did not have any like concrete steps, but my philosophy has changed, especially since I've learned more about programming and development and stuff. I've learned how to make a project concrete.
What does that
so
mean?
what I like to use is the agile philosophy. It is a philosophy like devised by a couple of researchers, or I don't know. It has been made, and
how do you spell it? Sorry, ADGIA.
Agile. I'll put it in the.
Yeah, put it in the chat. Yeah, so it'll pop up in the text. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
It is the agile development philosophy, which means that you first like create the scope of the project. You just try to figure out, okay, what is my scope? That could, like in a sort of broad sense, what kind of features do I want in my project? What do I need to research? All that kind of stuff. You put that in a big document, and after that you just start doing sprints. So you make a couple of time frames. So you say like every 2 weeks I want to do a couple of things, and you look at those features and other things that you need to do on that big list, and you start breaking them down into things that you can say, okay, I am going to work on this now, and at the end of the day that will be done.
So you don't get lost in the sauce.
You could have something like reverse engineer the memory of a game, and then you could break that down into figure out where the HP is, figure out where the inventory locations are, figure out how items work. And you can maybe break that even further down if it's a bigger task. So try to break it down as much as possible. Then you have a nice little list of things you can do.
So okay, so just to ask a question, how do you break it down though? Like let's say like you've never broken a ROM down before. Like, is it like graphics to like the tiles and like that's it, or is it like going to the individual pixels, or like
what level? A bit down to like experience. I think you'll have to like if you think you can't break it down, just work on it. Because another thing that's really nice about the agile philosophy is that you should not be afraid of change. So even though you set like all of those nice requirements and things in that big document and broke everything nicely down, it may be that you're working on something and it seems that it's like you need to do something else before you can do it, or it needs to be broken down even further because you realized something.
Okay.
Just break it down when you encounter that. put it back on the backlog and just work on a different thing. Then once you're done with your sprint, just review what went well, what went wrong.
Because you might have the information now, right?
Try,
you might have learned it.
try again in the next sprint with your new information.
Ah.
And eventually, it does mean that there's no real set date when you're finished. But you do have like a guide of progress every time you work on it, because you see, well, I've done all of these things after those 2 weeks or whatever time frame you want to set.
That's so cool though, yeah, because basically, and then how do you, I guess there's no essentially end deadline for someone like this. You're just kind of working until you have some kind of firm idea of when a deadline might be.
Well, you could try with a deadline, especially if you're more experienced with it, because your requirements document, if you made it well, it will give a decent enough idea.
Interesting.
Like
you'll know how many sprints, so to speak.
Like, if it takes a year, it probably won't take 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've noticed even for like I've tried to estimate projects, and usually I find it's usually double what I estimate. Like
that is a very popular metric in the programming world too. Take whatever time you think it's going to take, double that, and that's the real time.
And I've noticed that's been pretty accurate so far, and I think it makes sense with someone who's newer, because like you said, there's a lot of things you have to learn, so you kind of have to give yourself like time to learn. Which I think people sometimes forget. Exactly. Like, you can't just like, oh, I'm gonna change this level right now. It's like, no, you might have to learn like what is in the level, how does it function, and breaking that down.
Especially if you work on a project alone, because like in romhacking generally, like I think you'd be working alone for quite a bit. So
especially with hacking,
because it's such a specialized environment as well. Yeah. So that makes it a lot harder to work on things as well, because if you don't know how something works, well, you're on your own.
And sometimes it can help because you can find like new breakthroughs and stuff, but oftentimes there can be the classic, you're just, well, guess I'm just not doing this, or I'll come back to this later, as you said.
Yeah. And that's also what the agile philosophy like helps with, because if you break it down into small enough chunks, things will get easier because you're structuring how to tackle the problem.
Yeah, there's an answer to everything,
you will figure out like how you can solve your problem.
And as you mentioned before, something else might solve the problem. Like, it might be, now that I've learned what the RAM does, now I see what the graphics are, the music, or whatever.
Yeah, so like, if there's anything to take away from how I do projects, is try to plan things out, but you should definitely not be afraid of changing your plans either.
And sometimes it can be like drastic changes, like gutting entire like things, right? Like,
yeah, that could be a decision you'll have to make, and it could be.
Yeah, I just want to say that because sometimes people think it's like, oh, I have to do small changes. Like, no, sometimes you might have to do a big change, and that might make it better. Like,
exactly, it could be an improvement. It could also maybe lower your motivation a bit because you had to cut some content. But
true.
At least,
but it might be something you can repurpose later. Like, even professional developers.
In a sense, by making that decision, you're still making progress.
Exactly.
Because
right?
That's another item you can just add off the checklist.
Yeah. Exactly. So what made you want to stick with this for so long? Like programming and ROM hacking and modding and all, this whole field? I mean, you kind of answered it already, but...
Yeah, like, I haven't known any better. That's basically it.
And that's a good way of putting it. It's like, this is like, it works for you. Like, your brain like just loves it. Like, it works for it.
In a sense, it's second nature for me to work with video games and tinkering and computers.
Yeah, it's just part of your life. Yeah. So what's like the trickiest thing you had to hack? Whether it's for Mana or Minecraft or any project ever.
Well, the trickiest thing... Well, if we go from like a effort to what it's gonna be worth...
Yes, I mean, I was gonna say, like, that's kind of the other half, is like, yeah, like, would people notice or not? Like, that kind of thing.
Like, I'm working slowly a bit on a project for a Romhack. And for that, I have looked through the entire inventory system of that game. And the inventory system in that game is incredibly scuffed. In such a way that no one would ever notice it's scuffed.
It's like one of those things where it always worked, so why would you ever question it, right?
Basically, there is 2 items in that game, and if you put it in the storage, those items just straight up disappear.
And how does that happen? Is it just what? I guess you're able to find out, right? Like,
yeah, the funniest thing is it's like two of the most powerful weapons in the game too. Like there's nothing more powerful than those two weapons.
the beta testers just never put them in. They're like, why would I put that sword in?
Exactly. That is why probably no one ever realized. Because why would you put the most powerful weapon in the game in the storage?
That's kind of funny.
The funniest thing is too that those two weapons, like those two items, are bugged for different reasons. They have the same outcome, but are bugged because of different reasons.
That's so fascinating. Were they like added last second? Like, is it like?
No, it is just some very dumb oversights. Not that the programmers are dumb,
No. Yeah,
it is just like those mistakes happen, and are just when you realize that you've made that error, you will facepalm yourself, like that kind of error.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the classic, like you forget a comma or something, like the.
Yeah. It's like so. One of them is that there was an off by one error. So what that means is the storage is like mapped into memory, and there was another piece of memory that was really close to the storage, but they put it like one memory bit too close to the storage system, so that it eats up the final item. It like keeps overriding it back to 0.
And like it sounds like it's a very easy fix, right? Like it's just.
I just fix that off by 1. There's enough space in memory to do that.
Wow.
That will fix it. And the other one is because when the items get displayed, it wants to display them in a nice list instead of like scattered through all of memory.
Okay.
Because for a machine, it's nice to have them scattered through memory, but for like the player, you want to have it in a list.
Yeah.
But one of the items has the highest number as its like identifier, because it can be like 256 items, and that item was 256.
Okay.
But to indicate that the list has ended and the computer should stop reading, they also used that value.
So like just like it's such an easy fix. It's just like the same thing about it.
That value is actually in the list, but the computer doesn't interpret it as a value.
Yeah,
it interprets it as to stop
button.
reading.
Yeah.
And that one actually is quite a bit harder to fix, because you have to completely change how that list is parsed.
Oh wow. It's interesting because
You
it
have
sounds
to
like the second
figure
one would
out
be the
what the
easier
length
fix,
will
but.
be. Yeah, it is very interesting. That's probably like the trickiest thing, because it took me like afternoons to get through the inventory system and stuff. And eventually, like, because I reverse engineered it, I was like, wait a second, why is this being so, like, why does this look so weird? And then I just tried putting that item in the storage, because I had like the idea, this is probably not going to go well. And it indeed didn't go well. And there's nothing on the internet about it. Like nobody knows
like no one's ever
about those
found this
issues.
information. Because no one's ever done it.
Yeah, because why would they?
You must have laughed when you first found it. You were just like, what?
Yeah, that was extremely fun. Especially when, like, that same afternoon I found that other bug.
Yeah, because you're just like, it's not just one thing, like... Or you probably thought that might have been the answer or something.
No, it was in a completely different like area of the memory. It was so funny.
Just
they
like
made two errors leading to the same mistake.
What a headache. Okay, so if that's like the trickiest thing, what was like something surprisingly easy that people won't realize, but it's like really easy to ROM hack?
Well, things that are really easy is also the thing that I'm going to teach you about, which is how to make cheat codes.
Like what kind of cheat codes?
Like stuff like infinite HP, getting infinite ammo, killing the final boss, like killing bosses instantly.
Okay.
All that kind of cheats.
We're gonna get through all these NES games in one day. Let's go. All right. Or whatever system. And this works with like on any system, right? Like NES, SNES. Like, does it matter?
It's all the same concept. If you go to PC games, it's a little bit more involved, because you will have to install like a cheat engine.
Yes.
And with like consoles, there's generally a like cheat finding system built into the emulator.
Oh, okay, that's true. Yeah, the cheat finders, as they
And
say, right?
cheat engine basically is a like cheat finder, but for any PC program that you can encounter.
And typically they just have that because of people trying to like get free stuff, right? Like the microtransactions and all those things.
Yeah, it is mostly used for multiplayer games. Antiviruses see it as a gigantic virus because, well, Cheat Finder hacks into the memory of each and every program on your system, and antiviruses don't like that.
Understandably.
In fact, Cheat Engine gets used in viruses to make them easier to work with. That's how user-friendly Cheat Engine is, I guess.
Wow. That's so funny though, just like you don't even realize, like I can see why you were so tentative about installing stuff, and like, yeah, this program just casually messes with every file in your system. You know what I mean?
Like, if your antivirus complains about it, like, it can be a false positive, but there's definitely a reason why it's flagging the software.
Yeah, it's like
and with Cheat Engine, it makes sense because with Cheat Engine, it's actually a legitimate use case.
And kind of in some ways, like that is kind of what it's doing, right? Like it is a virus in that regard.
It's also like dangerous because you do have to really make sure that you've downloaded Cheat Engine from a trusted source. Because you will be disabling the antivirus for Cheat Engine.
And yeah, that as people don't know, that could they could delete System 32. You know, it could go back. Although I don't think you can do that anymore, can you?
And like, if you want to be extremely safe, just take some old laptop and install it on there.
Or do virtual machine and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, just separate it from your main stuff.
So true.
Be fine. And keep everything up to date.
Yes. Oh yeah, people always keep things up to date for sure. Okay, so what's a hacking tool you wish existed? Like we have cheat finders and cheat engines and all this stuff. But what's something you wish existed that like doesn't exist?
I have been like thinking about that question a bit, and every time I thought about something was like, wait, I think that actually already exists by now. Like the hacking space has increased in size by so much over the last years.
So what you're saying is you have pretty much everything.
But like one thing, like in the trend of AI programs and like stuff like that, where there's a lot of assistiveness to programs.
Yes.
I would want to see like some assistive kind of cheat finding system. So one where you can like not only look for the memory values, but the software will also figure out, oh, these are some related memory values that are doing these kinds of things. So it's probably like inventory thing. And this is a kind of code that it does. This is probably the damage function that you need to be looking at. So that like really
interesting
eases you a bit into starting a decompilation through memory.
Yeah, it would even just give you like the.
I would summarize as it's a memory-guided decompilation tool. That's basically what I would wish for.
Interesting. That's such a great use of it because it's doing the grunt work stuff that like humans aren't really made to do.
Like memory is so much more easier to like think about than ROM code. Because with memory it gets actively updated, so it in a sense it responds to your user input. So you will have a very good idea what that memory value is for. While with the code, you'll have to stumble upon it with a lot of different tooling like breakpoints and reading assembly. It's much more
factors. Yeah, like so if there's a thing that could just go like, oh yeah, HP, this is how you do it. Like that saves you like a week or a day or hours or like it all adds up.
Yeah. That if you're looking at like the assembly and stuff, the cheat finder will still be running in the background and giving you advice. Like these are the kinds of things that are going on in that function.
And yeah, for those that don't know, cheat finder's like super advanced nowadays. I mean, it's always kind of has been, but like the current rendition.
In fact,
really
like
helpful.
a basic cheat finder, like a cheat finder is an extremely simple tool.
Yeah.
Which is also why I want to teach about it, because it's extremely easy to teach then as well.
I'm excited.
Just a couple of buttons.
Yeah, and you can change so many things like in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're excited now about the prospects of AI and all this stuff. You kind of already answered this in some ways, but where do you think ROM hacking will be in like 10 years or longer?
One thing that I see happening a lot is that a lot of different facets of the gaming world and like the programming world in general are being standardized. So there's a lot because globalization and stuff. A lot of more people are communicating and collaborating with each other. So they need some way of standardizing what they're collaborating with. So one big project is the Archipelago project.
Yes.
For like the multi-worlds.
Yes.
That is a very big standardization effort of making randomizers uniform.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Getting them all to work with each other.
For those that don't know, it's not just having like different Zelda games. It's like I could have Zelda with StarCraft, with Mario, with like Sudoku, with Witness, and then there's all these other games that I've already seen like in development. Like pretty much every randomizer now has a fork.
Exactly.
Ready.
It is an effort to make a universal randomizer. That's basically it.
And it's almost
I
like
will
like
see a lot more
something.
projects getting that kind of treatment in 10 years.
Oh, because they
Like,
had that with like
there
the
might
Steam
be,
Workshop,
like-
right? So it makes sense. Yeah.
Like RetroArch also is a sort of unification experience for emulators. I will also see that improving majorly, where it becomes much more seamless to work with.
Interesting. There won't be such a separation between everything. It will be more homogenized.
Yeah, and also that like all of the tooling within those emulators also gets standardized more. In fact, the Mason emulator recently had an update like this year, where they unified all the NES, SNES, Game Boy, Super Game Boy, GB Color, and
Wow.
PC Express games, like all under one emulator with the same tools.
That is insane. And it's been working.
It is really nice.
Yeah.
It even runs on Linux. Yay.
Let's go. Native too.
Yeah, it's actually native.
That's rare.
I haven't had any errors.
Wow.
Which I did have with the previous versions of Mason because they weren't native.
So not only has and especially with Steam Deck and all these like newer things embracing Linux, I'm sure in 10 years like we're gonna see some really big strides in Linux.
Yeah.
ROM hacking.
Yeah,
everything.
Proton has been a godsend for Linux, the Linux world. Because like my games don't run on Linux is not really an excuse anymore these days.
Yeah, look at you, Mac. I'm joking.
Yeah, I think less games run on Mac now than on Linux, I think.
And there's something about that. Yeah, it's kind of fascinating, just how it's flipped over the years.
The
Mac used to be such a big
Linux
contender.
world has a lot of enthusiasts, so
And it makes sense.
if
like,
something
the
gets
hardcore.
done, it's in the Linux world.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have any words of inspiration for these new hackers out there?
In terms of inspiration, I would say if you're passionate about something, just experiment a bit with it. Even if you don't know anything about it, just try stuff out. Maybe if you're trying to hack a game, just look into the memory, just change some stuff and figure out what is the result of it. And eventually you will like learn properly about those concepts, especially if you combine it with researching like YouTube videos and stuff and reading some documentation on things to reinforce what you've come across.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, so even if you don't know anything about it, with experimentation you will learn like something at least. You'll always
I feel
learn
like people
something.
discount their knowledge. Like sometimes you'll learn something and you might not realize that other people didn't research that, or maybe they never looked into that before. And it just
like-
sometimes happens like that.
Yeah, with a lot of stuff, you don't really need to know about it if you know like some of the underlying concepts and if you have experience. Which, like, for example, I've gotten a lot of experience with just experimenting with hacking and modding and stuff. And in fact, the game that I'm going to teach you with, I have not even finished the third level of that game. So I know absolutely nothing about the game, yet I'm still teaching, yet I'm still using it to teach you. Because
So
I want
it
you
goes
to
to show,
show,
yeah, like
you don't need to know anything
Yeah.
to do this.
It's being a player and being like a programmer aren't necessarily the same thing at all. Although it does help with an
it
event
is
diagram.
different skill sets.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah,
Because I mean, it can be
you
a whole
can't
different
learn
topic,
it with
but-
with experimentation.
Yes.
That is
that's a big
how I
point,
learned
yeah.
everything. I just started by experimenting. The Minecraft redstone and stuff and command blocks. I like discovered some pretty major things, like how to build the most compact calculator in Minecraft, like the compact adder.
So cool.
And I discovered the two's complement subtraction system in computers. So like how computers subtract. I discovered that by means of that calculator because I wanted to do subtraction.
Wow.
I discovered that system because I was
That's wild.
experimenting with it.
And yeah, like when you started, you weren't just like, I'm gonna build a calculator. Like it was just like, I'm just gonna mess around with these tools.
In that, like, if I look back on my life, like I have rediscovered a lot of different concepts throughout my life without even knowing that they existed in the first place. Because I was just experimenting. I didn't want to like research. I just wanted to experiment with it first.
That's kind of true for
Discover those
life in
things
general,
myself.
yeah. It's very poetic, yeah. You got to get yourself out there and try things. Is basically what Menblock's saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even if it's just for 5 minutes.
Get out there and do it.
Yeah. You might as
You
well
will
try
learn. Virtually all of my knowledge has come from just experimenting with things. Just looking through the community's knowledge and feeding that back into my experimentation.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a continuous cycle. Because new people are the people who inspire the old people, and old people inspire new people, and the medium people inspire everyone. And yeah, it's just because you're new doesn't mean it won't matter or you won't get good, because it will happen. You just have to kind of like try.
And like always remember, if you don't if you don't do it, you'll never learn.
True. Yeah. And
Like if you
learn to
think,
hate
oh,
it, you learn to hate it.
I can't do this because I don't know anything about it. Well, I didn't know anything about programming either when I started.
Huh.
I just experimented a bit with it, and eventually I came to the point that I'm at now.
But isn't that like a funny question to ask? Like, oh, I don't know anything about it, so I shouldn't do it. But it's like, if you knew about it, wouldn't you already be doing it? Right? Like,
Yeah, like I would say, like it is a bit a question of do you want to learn it. If you don't want to learn it, you're probably never gonna start it.
that's true.
If you want to learn it, just make it into a hobby project. Like do something that doesn't feel as pressured. It doesn't feel like a major undertaking. Just make it part of a hobby.
Yeah, like if you're just
Because then
starting out,
it
you
isn't
don't-
about knowledge. It's just about having fun.
just like do a funny little graphic, like draw sunglasses on Mega Man or something. You know, just something quick.
Yeah, just something funny to do. And eventually you've learned from that, and at some point you will have the confidence that you're like, wait, I actually do know a bit about this stuff.
Yeah,
like
I remember that
those
time.
YouTube tutorials about hacking and stuff. Like I'm starting to understand what these guys are talking about now.
Yeah, it's all making sense.
Yeah, and it will be like it will be a very gradual process, but there will be like one day where you suddenly realize how much you've learned. It's
And how
a
much you
real
don't know.
shock.
It would be simultaneous.
And how
Like,
much
I
you
learned so
still
much.
have to learn.
Yeah, it's a double hit. I know that feeling so
You
well.
know that people have knowledge about something if they can tell you everything that they don't yet know.
True. Because that means they have that. Yeah, they
Because
know
those who
beyond
don't
themselves.
don't know what they don't know.
And that goes back to what we just said, where if you don't know that you don't know, that's the point. But you have to know that you want to know.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to know, then you're not going to know. You know?
Yeah.
All right, so now the most serious question. What's your favorite kind of ice cream?
Yes.
Do you not like ice cream?
No, I like ice cream. I just like a lot of variation.
Okay.
I do not
Okay,
like
can you give us like an ice
simply
cream
getting
tier
chocolate
list?
ice cream.
Ice cream tier list.
Well, definitely my absolute favorite combination would probably be something like banana, chocolate, and caramel, like combined.
Like the ice creams combined, or like there's a actual like banana split, like the banana inside it kind of thing.
Like banana with like some chocolate stuff in it and covered with caramel.
Okay. Oh yeah, the caramel.
There's a lot of different ice cream. Like I like chocolate chip mints and.
Oh, the mint.
And I like mint ice cream. I like mint stuff. I like licorice too because yeah, I'm a Dutch person.
I actually like
licorice.
the disgusting one, the sandwichy ones or whatever. I like those ones. The pinks and the white ones and the weird fuzzy one. Like I like that one. Licorice all sorts.
Yeah. And sometimes I just want the vanilla one. Like I like to vary a bit.
But you're
like
basically you're an ice cream connoisseur. You're.
And in a sense, you could say I like try like that's another like intrinsic experimentation. I just want to try some stuff out with ice cream, and maybe I discover something really funny. Sometimes I discover something extremely gross. But
well, okay, what's like a gross flavor you found? I'm curious.
Let's see, in the world of ice cream, what?
Well, was there things not in ice cream that were gross? Now I'm like, hey, Menblock, give us the tea.
In terms of ice cream, I don't think I've yet like had an actually gross taste. It was probably more like an unexpected taste, where I was that was not really what I was in the mood for today.
Oh, I find when they just lie. It's like birthday party. It's like that didn't taste like a birthday party. Where are the clowns?
Yeah, that stuff too. Like sometimes, yeah.
No, but or it's like tiger stripe, and you're like, oh, that tasted different.
Yeah. Like in terms of other food, like sometimes I haven't like I don't like cheese on my pizza. I eat cheeseless pizza. You can attack me for that if you want. I like cheeseless pizza.
I'm not gonna attack you. How does the topping stay on? Like how do they stay on the? I'm
because
not
there's more tomato sauce. There's tomato sauce.
But doesn't the sauce can't hold? The sauce is saucy, yo. Is your sauce not saucy?
Well, if you don't make it too thick, like you can have.
Wait, are you making homemade pizzas?
Thick, No, we have a pizza place that does it correctly. Like I can eat those pizzas without cheese just fine.
Do you get other toppings, or is it like just only like the bread and the sauce?
I do get other toppings. It is not a piece of bread with just tomato sauce.
Okay, no. That I don't think it's that weird. I kind of get it. You know what I mean? You're just basically eating like garlic bread.
Like I generally don't really like the taste of milk and stuff, so I also like eat vegan ice cream and stuff.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But, I've definitely had a vegan pizza where instead of embracing the fact that you're vegan, they try their best to taste like the normal and just made the most awful cheese taste ever by means of coconut flakes.
Oh, I love coconut flakes.
Yeah.
As cheese? Oh.
I like coconut too, but that didn't taste like coconut. That tasted like cheese, and like not good cheese either.
Oh.
So, yeah, that definitely ruined that pizza for me. So I'm definitely not buying that vegan pizza anymore.
Oh.
Like that would be like a disappointing food experience for me. Where the vegan food manufacturers don't try like make it their own thing. Like they don't try to own up to the fact that they're vegan.
Yeah, it's funny, right? They try to imitate it so hard. It's like just embrace your own flavors, like be your own thing.
Yeah, like the vegan foods that embrace that they're vegan are the best vegan foods. Like a lot of people don't like vegan foods because they're looking for like vegan patties and
like things that
the
aren't
vegan
really
meat
vegan.
and vegan pizzas that try to still have the cheese and stuff. Like don't just get something vegan that isn't even remotely like anything you've had before.
I agree. Yeah, especially like the tofus and all sorts of stuff that's out there. It's just like
falafel is a classic like piece of vegan food.
Falafel wraps are so good.
That stuff's amazing.
So good. Chad, go eat a falafel today. That's your PSA.
Yeah. That's your homework. The homework is not to experiment with hacks. Your homework is to buy falafel and cook it.
Pause the video right now and
don't pause it right now. Get it afterwards. we don't have enough time to cook it before the show.
Sure, we're already going over. So how do you deal with living in such a different time zone? Bonus question.
It's not me who is different, it's the Canadians who are different. Seymour.
My mind just expanded.
just the Seymour meme. It's not me who is different, it's the Canadians.
You. I'm like slowly disappearing now. Like no. Ah! Save me, Menblock. All right, cool. Well, with all that in mind, shall we get started with your tutorials? You said you got lots of fun stuff to show us, and I'm very curious to see.
It's gonna be interactive, so I will be looking at chat for this segment. Because like, if there's anything unclear in the chat, just ask and I will explain.
All right.
So let's just share my entire screen, because I have too many windows that will pop up to do anything different.
1 second. Can't stop the big...
I've also increased the font size a bit on the emulator, so hopefully you can read everything.
There we go. Do you need your entire like desktop?
I can center the things that I'm talking about, so.
Okay, I have it like in a 4x3 right now.
Fine. Yeah, I see what you've done.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically with computers, like, we first gotta talk a little bit about like some basic concepts about computers. And the concepts all boil down to is just a numbers game. The only things that computers do is they read numbers to then move those numbers around and do stuff with more numbers. It is all, like, if you go low level enough, it's all about numbers. So computers generally store things in a, so let's have a canvas. They generally store things in a byte. So everything is binary, so there's electrical signals. So everything can be a 0 or a 1. So for example, this number, like, if you know your numbers, chat, this is the number 1, right? This is the number 1. So, chat, what is this number? This is the number 10, right? Number 10? Wrong, this is the number 2. Oh gosh, that is an ugly Yeah, this is the number 2. Because what is happening now is how the computer interprets the number. This is how we interpret the number. So a computer doesn't see this as a number, but just as, is this digit on or off? Like, is there electricity flowing on that digit or isn't? That is represented with a 0 and a 1. Then we count in binary. So like, if you only had 1s and 0s as your digit, what would be the next logical number to make after 1? Well, it would be 10. No, because like, if we count, eventually the next number that only has 1s and 0s in our system also is 10. So this will be the second number that a computer can make. Then we have the number 11. Well, that's the third number that a computer can make. So we are counting now in binary like this. Basically, instead of rolling over once we get a 9, like 8, 9, and then 10, we carry the digit. Now we just immediately carry the digit after we encounter the 1. Are you still following me on that, Catnip in chat?
I think.
So...
So is it just counting the 1s as they come up and that's how it gets the next number?
Yeah, so basically what's happening is, like, you could think about it as what would be the next number that I can make with only 1s and 0s. And then we just count along. So this would be the first number that we, well, technically the first number that we could make is the number 0.
Yes, yeah.
We get number 1, then we get the number 10, because
then it'll be 100, then 1,000.
It's the only one with that. And so on.
But it stops at 3 digits?
Well, you can just continue like that, so once we have 111, well, the next number we can make is 1,000.
Oh, I see.
And how you
So
could
it's actually making more
think
sense
about
now.
this
I got it now.
Is to like to formalize it more in a bit of a mathematical way.
Sure.
Like this is a bit of an intuitive way to like start thinking about these numbers.
Yeah, just getting your brain in the
Or
right.
mathematically, you could say, let's say we have the number 137. What this indicates is that there is a 7 in the ones place, 3 in the tens place, so this means 30, this digit. This digit means count 100.
It's counting the whole like thing, right? Like its position. Like the 10th or the 100th or the...
So this is basically 7 times 1. This is 3 times 10. This is 1 times 1 times 100.
Oh, okay.
That's representing.
And that's the stuff we were talking about before.
This because basically we have 10 different digits that we can place. So it goes from the ones place times 10 to the tens place times 10 to the hundreds place. Computer, we only have 2 digits. So say we have 101. That means we have 1 times the 1, we have 0 times the 2's place, and we have 1 times the 4's place. Because now instead of multiplying by 10, we now multiply by 2. See what's happening?
Yes, yeah. No,
there's only 2 digits, so and now we can just add them up like this. So this is the number, well, we have 1 times 4, 0 times 2, 1 times 1, add them all up, you get 5. This is the representation of the number 5.
Yes.
And that's how I'm like counting binary now.
Okay.
So basically if I read a number like this, this is like a 8, because there's 8 digits.
Okay.
Numbers like computers like powers of 2. Like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, anything double, the computers love that. How I read this? Well, first we have the ones place, and we don't have the 2's place, we do have the 4's place, we have the 8, we do have the 16's place, don't 32, don't have the 64, but do have the 128th place. Add these all up.
This is when it starts getting too hard for me. Maybe just because you're doing it fast, so my brain's like trying to like... I know chat's also struggling a little bit. But also might just be too much for today kind of thing. I think even just the first part was super solid. Just like the... You know what I mean? Like the 1 times 1, the 1 times 10.
So I can take this a bit more slowly. So again,
sure.
Here we have the ones place. So we have the 1 times 1. We have 0 times the 2's place. We have 1 times the 4th place in this case. We double it again, we have 0 times the 8th place. Double it again, we have 1 times the 16th place, etc, etc.
So how did you go from 8 to 16? Is that just because you're doubling the number each time?
Yeah, we keep doubling the number that we have. Just like in base 10, you're keeping on multiplying it by 10. And now we keep on multiplying it by 2, because we only have 2 digits.
Oh, okay, this is making more sense. So most things are usually in the 2-digit format, right?
Yes, in binary most things are in the 2-digit format. So with this number, to like complete the addition, this number would be 145. If you add all of these places up.
And you're adding up both the number in the spot and the byte it's supposed to represent?
Exactly, you're multiplying the place it represents by the number that's in here. It says here, we have the 10th place, but we count that 3 times, so we get 30.
Huh. Okay, yeah, sorry. I was just reading chat as well, sorry.
Yeah, so like, coming back to Kuja's chat stuff.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
He's talking about hexadecimal numbers, which are like a different base. So we just read about we just seen base 10, so that are these numbers.
Okay.
The ones you usually encounter, where you have 10 digits. Binary, or base 2, where we only have the digits 0 and 1. You can also increase our base and make base 16. We can invent new digits.
Okay.
So we can have the digits 0 through 9, but then just use letters for the digits. So
Yes.
the 10th digit is now A, the 11th digit is B, and if we count it up to F, now we have 16 different digits.
Okay.
So that's where hexadecimal comes from. It's Latin for 16.
Oh, I actually know that.
And basically we use this to compactify our binary numbers. So let's get back to our number 145.
Yes.
This is like a lot to view at once.
Yeah, it's gonna get
What we'd
messy.
rather have is split it up into chunks of 2. And just use one digit to represent both of these. Base 16 we can do that, because this number goes from 0 through 16.
Okay.
There's only 16 different combinations of making zeros and ones here. Because, as we know, if everything is 0, the binary number represents 0. If everything is a 1, the binary number represents 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8. And that's 15.
Yes.
Then we get 16 different values. So that's perfect for hexadecimal, because we have 16 different digits.
I see what you're saying there.
What we do now, here we make this a 5.
Okay.
This was the number 5. If we look at this as a number, well, that's 1 plus not 2, not 4, but 8,
Okay.
which is 9. So in hexadecimal, this binary number would just be written as 95.
Yes. It's only when we get to double digits that gets complicated, right?
It's a lot more compact, and to like get into the fact that there is letters, let's say this was a 1 instead of a 0.
Sure,
Let's just
sure.
cross out the 0. My drawing skills are incredible, I know.
Yeah, it's fine, it's fine.
So now this number represents 1 plus 4 plus 8 is 13. Well, the 10th digit was A, B is 11, C is 12, D is 13. So this is now the digit D. So in
for those that don't
hexadecimal, this
know-
number is now D5.
So for those, I guess to break it down, when you count above 9, you start getting into letters until you get to F, and that's the 16th digit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those things you don't realize at
Oh.
first, and you're just like, oh. I get it.
So this is a bit of like important prerequisites. Like if you want to look through the memory values of a console, like you will encounter binary, and you must also know about binary to know its tricks, because there's a lot of tricks that these numbers do.
Well, what can
Is-
you give us an example?
Well, these numbers are not only used to store actual numbers. They get stored to, like, they get used to store all kinds of different things. You can store text in them. You can store like save state. Like you can basically say, okay, we have this item and this item and this item, but not this item in the inventory. So you can use it for all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
So
Okay.
to show, like,
Yeah.
how could we interpret this lovely number? I'm going back to 145, it just works extremely well. This could be our number, what was it, 95 in hex?
Yep. That's what you had before, yeah.
Yeah, that would just be like using it as a number. We could also see it is, let's say we have a nice NES controller. So we'll just get a nice D-pad, 2 buttons, and a start and select button. There we go. So this controller has 8 different inputs, and the input is either active or it's not active, right?
Yes.
So remember when I said that these binary numbers, the computer basically thinks about them as they are either on or off.
Yes.
If we just say, well, this digit is a 1 if the up button is active and 0 if it's not. If we map every other button to this number, etc., etc. Let's draw them all for completeness sake. There we go. Oh, I drew a number double.
You doubled up the left one.
Yeah, you know what? You're gonna be this one.
Just like you're a programmer.
Like, it's all arbitrary. The computer doesn't care which number is mapped to which port.
Exactly,
Just make it make sense for it. Generally, it does make sense for humans. So, how can we interpret this now? Well, this was a 1, so the up button is being pressed right now. This one is a 1, so the down button is also... Oh, they're using an illegal controller. They're pressing both up and down.
Got him. Speedrunners. Got him.
Got it. They're also pressing the B button, and they are pressing the A button. So, this number, 95... We say this number is 95, but in reality it means they're using an illegal controller and pressing B and A.
So is that one of those things the game could like detect and be like, hey, you can't do this?
Well, you could detect it, but basically what I want to show you now is, hey, the computer can just, like, it doesn't have to think about what input, like how is the player using the controller. No, it just has to compare some numbers.
Yeah,
the computer translates this stuff, like all it just back into numbers. So our computer can check if you're pressing the B button, it would go along these lines. Well, we have our number for the controller, like this is the current state of the controller.
Yes.
Just see, is this bit active? Is this digit a 1? Like the computer has an instruction for that, and it can look at the specific digit. Is this digit a 1? If so, we have pressed B. If not, we haven't pressed B.
Yes.
So that is basically like how you could use a number to represent a controller.
So,
it's a really different way of thinking about.
For example, if it was 94, that it could be in a different spot. 93 would be a different combination of buttons.
Exactly. If it's the number 94, well, this would be a 0. This would be a 1. And
so now that other button's pressed and the other one's not pressed.
So now the B button is unpressed and the left button is pressed.
Nice. So yeah, so for those wondering, it's like it doesn't matter, the full number is the entire combination. So if you're just holding right, that's probably what, like a 2 or something?
Yeah, if you're just holding right, that would be the number 64. This digit is 64.
Oh yeah, because it's going across the entire sequence.
Yeah, exactly. You go from 1 to 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. Eventually, you'll learn to remember all those powers of 2.
Yeah, luckily it's always the same number you're timesing with, so it's not like a new number every time.
Yeah. So like, this is really important because then we can see like, if you're looking through your memory of your program and you are seeing that something is constantly switching between like 64 or 16, stuff like that, then you must be thinking like, these are probably not just numbers, but are actually like holding certain states. Because when it's 64, this digit is meaning something. When it's 16, this digit is meaning something.
Yeah.
But it makes the reverse engineering process like a little bit easier. Because now you know, oh, if we see a power of 2 somewhere, that is suspicious.
Oh, you were mentioning it earlier, right?
So you have like a certain idea of what it's doing. Because if you don't know about like all of the different ways we could use these numbers, well, it will be hard to like see, okay, so why is the HP value like written like this? Because
but then I guess that's what you're going to tell us next. Like, what can we do with that information?
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, what you could do with the information, basically, if you're like looking through the memory with the cheat finder, you have to make some assumptions about like what the number that you're trying to find is doing.
Okay.
So if you don't know what it's doing, it's going to be hard to find.
Because there's just
if you do know what it's doing, you can probably find it within 10 seconds.
Interesting.
So, yeah, okay. I guess now that we know a bit more about binary numbers and stuff and how these digits are like very important,
I actually do feel more comfortable now.
Cool. That's what I wanted. And we can now look at Mega Man. A game which I definitely have played, but definitely not like more than an hour.
He played it out of pity. No.
So like, is the sound coming through, by the way?
Let me just add a sound effect for that. Yeah, now it's coming through.
Okay, cool. Because it is nice if there's like a bit of sound.
Yeah, of course.
So let's check. So what we do in the emulator is we'll open what is called the memory viewer, which is something that looks like this. And what this does is it shows you every single number that gets used currently in the game.
Okay.
There's a lot of numbers and they're constantly changing values because of course the game is doing stuff. So these are now all just completely meaningless numbers to you, probably.
They're red and they're black and they're blue and...
Yeah, what in this case the emulator does nicely is if the number gets changed, it gets put in red. And if the computer is using that value at the moment, it gets put in blue.
And where did you find this again? Where was this in the menu?
It is in like a development menu, basically. If I make this thing smaller, I can show you.
It was a little bit cut off there, sorry.
It's a debug menu, like this is the Mason emulator, by the way. Mason. It's an amazing emulator, especially for ROM hacking, SNES and NES games, because there's just so much. Look at this menu. Such a big menu.
There is a lot of stuff there.
You're now looking at the memory viewer, which is again this thing. So what we want to do now is let's play the game. And what stage do you want, Catnip?
Napalm for the cats.
Cool. It doesn't matter because we're staying at the intro screen anyways.
No!
So what we want to do now is, because I am incredibly bad at the game, I want to have infinite HP.
Cat.
Because I will not survive like 2 seconds here.
It's true. The stage is hard.
Here, look at it.
I purposely chose the hardest
there
stage.
We go. Oh, you...
If you don't move at the start, you're fine.
Person.
Just don't move at the start, you'll be fine.
So we want to find this location. So let's close this thingy again. There we go. Now open the amazing cheat finder. We don't have to make a cheat code for infinite HP. Just freeze the RAM address. That is basically what a cheat code does. A cheat code is just a way of saying. But anyway, we're going ahead. We're getting ahead of ourselves now.
That's okay. No, it's all important discussion. Yeah, all good.
So where was the cheat finder again? Oh yeah, it's called memory search in this thing. So this is a different way of viewing this memory. Here we had the first number 0. Here it's listed on the top. This goes in a grid-like fashion, like in reading order. We just have one big list.
Okay.
What we want to do is we want to find our HP. And the easiest way is to say what this memory finder basically does. Let's first explain that. Is it starts with all of the memory that exists in the game, like all of the values.
Okay.
What we want to do is we want to filter those values on specific conditions to like hone down on the one we want. So how can we do that? Well,
Sure.
We can look at our filters. We can say, we can compare it to what we previously searched for. We can compare it to a specific value. And we can say, let's make this a little bit bigger. We could say, for example, with our previous search, well, I want it to have not changed between opening this program and like clicking this filter button.
Okay.
Also say, I want it to be not equal, so I want the memory to have changed between the last press.
Sure.
Or I want it to have lowered in value. There's like a lot of fine-grained filters. The more fine-grained you go, the faster you'll find it, but you have to be careful.
So like, how do you...
How we will do it.
I guess that's what you're gonna tell me.
So what we'll do now is we'll reset everything to make sure I haven't messed things up. And I'll say, well, currently, look at our HP, shouldn't be changing, right? Like, probably the game has some kind of number stored somewhere to just hold this health value. So we want to say it's equal. So we click the filter button a couple times until we don't see anything changing anymore.
That's that button on the right, right?
That really hasn't filtered anything, because we are stationary, so a lot of things don't change now. But what if we say spawn the finger? Like we walk around a bit, our health still hasn't changed, so we click our health, like it must not have changed, it must be equal. But now we want to like lower our HP a little bit. That was the start button. Like you can already see how bad I am at Mega Man. I don't even know the controls.
He was like, "How do I jump?"
Just got damaged.
Okay.
So now, I want to say our health value should have changed now. Click apply filter.
No, hold up one sec. We just got a raid.
Yo, Kumba is raided. Hello there.
The Mega Man Master. So for those wondering, we are actually doing a Romhack tutorial right now. So if you ever wanted to learn how to Romhack Mega Man or any kind of NES game or SNES or any kind of game really, Menblock's basically been breaking down for the last half hour or so, hour and a half really, but the school lesson has really been the last half an hour, or 10 minutes, I guess. Not even. So welcome. I guess give a elevator recap real quick for those that just came in.
Yeah, so basically what we've been doing is we've been looking a little bit about how the numbers work in for a computer. Like we all know our numbers. We know like the number 27. We know the number 38. Like we know what those things are. I hope you're comfortable with numbers. But a computer looks at them a little bit differently. Like what might be 38 to you might not be 38 to a computer, because it is not thinking about numbers the way we do with our digits. It's looking more about things in terms of, is this digit on or is this digit off? So that changes the way we do things a little bit. And using that knowledge, so for example, Catnip just typed the hexadecimal digits. So instead of using 10 digits for numbers, we now use 16 digits for numbers. So instead of going like 0, 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 8, 9, 10, we now go 0, 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F, and then 10. So we take a little bit longer to like get to 10, and we also take like in the same fashion a little bit longer to get to 100, etc. And yeah, it is basically nicer to work with computers. But now that we know that a little bit, we are looking at the cheat finder. So we're trying to find where Mega Man's HP is, because I am notoriously bad at Mega Man. So I want to cheat, and I want to have infinite HP. So this memory viewer, basically we start with all of the numbers used in the game. So we're trying to like say, well, when has my HP value not changed? When has it definitely changed because I lost HP? And we're trying to filter down on the memory. So let's get damaged again. Ow. Oh no, oh no, that's too much damage, okay. So we have changed, our health has changed, so we say not equal, apply filter. So you can already see we are hunting down that value right now. So let's say, ow,
Make sure to hit that follow button if you're
there we
enjoying
go,
the stream.
it's still not equal.
Yeah.
But now, we don't have a lot of values anymore, so we walk around a little bit. Maybe, yeah, there we go, that's one value. Our HP hasn't changed, you're an imposter. Apply filter.
You're an imposter. So how'd you know it was an imposter? Like what made you realize?
Well, because while I was walking around, that value changed.
Oh yeah, it
My
shouldn't
HP didn't change. So I just applied the hasn't changed filter to get rid of that value.
And again, that's that thing on the right that you're clicking, right?
So I have died. There we go. Let's reload the level. Well, now I'm back at max HP, which, funnily enough, is also, again, a different HP value. So it's not equal. We have got rid of 2 more values again, because they probably had something to do with, like, dying. We're still walking around a little bit. Still nothing is changing. Nothing is changing. Like, it can get a little bit hard sometimes. So now definitely things have changed. Things have changed again.
Okay.
It's changed.
Okay.
I'm basically like going on a roller coaster now. I'm just like, every time I get damaged, I just click the not equal filter. And it's already game over. Damn it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's not go to Napalm Man, let's go to Stone Man, where I actually tried all of this out.
What do you mean?
Also, make sure you like have a lot of variance when your value is not supposed to change, and make things consistent when it is supposed to change. Because that like filters out more things. Because of course these numbers are doing other things than HP.
Okay.
Probably. Like the game the NES doesn't have a lot of memory, so there's probably like not a lot of redundant things. So yeah, we're walking around again.
Yeah.
I don't see anything happening right now. That's a new enemy. My health has changed. Health changed. Oh, there we go. We got rid of everything except for one thing. I think we found our health. If we look at this value, every time I get hit, it's decreasing. That indicates that this is probably HP. Like, if you have just a couple of values left, it is worth it to just look at how they change in response to you getting hit.
Yeah, like just making sure.
We do this again. Well, exactly when we get hit, this thing changes. So yeah, it works out.
It matches up with like
again. Kuja Killer already knew it was B0. Indeed, we have found our HP value B0. So basically, like for this game, of course, this is all just known knowledge. But what I want to show you is how easy it is to do, like for any game. If there's a game that doesn't have those cheat codes or anything, or you want to start reverse engineering, like with the cheat finder, you can find out a lot of interesting memory locations to then like branch further. Because now I have the HP value, I can maybe do some debugging stuff and see when it gets updated to then find the damage function and give me invulnerability. Haha.
And then you can
do a lot of advanced things. But basically now I want to make a cheat code. I want infinite HP.
Sure.
So if we looked carefully, this value was at 9C. So apparently 9C is the highest HP value for Mega Man. So I don't really know why exactly it's 9C, because there's not that many HP pips. If we look back at those number stuff again, like this is in hexadecimal, so this is not 99, this is the hexadecimal 9 and the hexadecimal 9.
Okay. If
we look at when we die, what number does this stay? This is a nice exercise to the viewer.
I see.
What number do we end? We end at 80. Why is 80 special? Why would you think, Catnip?
What would 80 mean?
Yeah, why? Like, what does 80 ring alarm bells for?
I started hearing the music, it made me laugh.
I can give you a hint. It is a power of 2. The 8 is a power of 2.
Oh, is it it's like the max 16 digit or something like that?
Well, basically what happened is our HP was completely gone. Okay. So that should probably mean like all zeros, if it's gone. There was one digit still set. That was the digit that meant 80. So that probably means something.
Well, with the hint from chat, also, I know it has to do with the life bar.
Exactly. Like Kuja is giving a bit of information. So that's apparently that little digit on the end apparently means if the life bar should be on or not.
I wouldn't have thought about that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't have thought about that.
But you see now, since the game is like limited values, you see that it has combined the number for showing the life bar with the number of your HP.
Okay.
It does confirm again, like your HP ending at 80. Well, it is a bit suspicious that it isn't 0, but 80, it's only like one digit off. So.
And that's just so the game knows, like,
has a special meaning.
Yeah.
Which is in this case the life bar. So we found it. How can we now apply a cheat?
So actually, just to make sure I understand. So it starts at 80, so that means like 81 would be like 1 HP, and the 82, 83, 84.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
I want to make sure I'm on the right page. Okay.
Yeah, you are. So what we now do is we go to the cheats menu or whatever your emulator has for cheat codes. So what we can do now, I already have this cheat, so yeet. Now I don't. So we can add a cheat, and there is like game genie codes and stuff, but those are basically obscured version of cheats. Try to find one where you can like fix the memory value, as Kuja has said.
Okay.
In this case, it's custom. But this in Mason, like it is a bit specific to every emulator, which back to my interview was like I hope that there's more standardization in these kinds of tools so that it's a bit easier to get into.
Yeah, you wanted a very specific build or whatever.
For Mason, I'll now show how the cheat finder works. Okay. What we can say, well, we found that 0 value that we had, or that B0 value that we had. There's B0, we had our value.
Yes, yeah, we knew that was like the RAM
cheat
value.
Menu. First type that B0 value. I hope it shows on screen, by the way. I can't edit this font apparently.
No, we can see it. We can see it.
I'll tell you. Like this is B0. So that was the address. That's the A in this cheat code.
Okay.
Then we can set values V. So you only need to set 1 byte, which is that one like number. I have so many windows open. There you go. Which is this 9C.
Okay.
So we set it to 9C. And it recognized it as a cheat code. It says I'm going to set B0 to 9C. Here we go.
Yeah, so we knew 9C was the max HP, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like at least the max that gets displayed. Where is the edit cheat? I want to give it a description. Always max HP. Here we go. That one is on now, so we can close down the menu. And now we will see we don't get damage anymore. Let's go. Because every time it's every time the game tries to lower it, the emulator will just bring it back to 9C.
Okay.
So we have now applied a cheat code to like not make us die to enemies anymore. Let's go.
Yeah, like we found what it was ourselves. Like we were the ones to do it.
Yeah, we discovered it by means of experimentation.
Yes. So okay, but does this only work for the emulator? Like I'm assuming it's only emulator specific, right?
Well, it does depend a bit on emulator. Like they need to have these tools. That's in the first place. So like they need to have a cheat finding system where you can like filter those memory stuff.
Yeah.
Then some way of like applying that cheat or like changing that memory value outside of the game.
Okay. And then would the idea be that they create like a IPS patch from that file?
Well, in this case, you can't create an IPS patch because we are changing the RAM values. So like we are not changing the ROM, we're changing like the RAM stuff.
Yeah, that's what I also say this out loud so people.
But you can turn it into a cheat code, and then like people can apply the cheat code because generally an emulator has a cheat menu. You can like apply a game genie stuff. Yeah, like FCEUX for example has a like decoder where that cheat that we just filled in. I think they have a button where you can click and it makes a game genie code, which more emulators support.
Yes, and especially if it's an older game, there's so many codes for them. You just have to kind of dig around with it.
In fact, what you can do for games is instead of like trying to find those cheat codes yourselves, if there's already cheat codes, you can take those and like look. Okay, so that is this memory value. Let's now we found the memory value. Let's play with it a little bit ourselves and like make our own cheats from them. In a sense that would skip that filtering process. It will give you like a head start.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of just point you to the information already, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
But assuming there was no game genie code, assuming there was no database or crystal or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, assuming there's absolutely nothing about the game. Like,
you could still do
at
it.
least with Mason, like Mason is incredibly advanced. So if it's an NES or SNES game, I highly recommend Mason for like looking through the stuff.
I'm sure probably for Genesis and stuff too, right? Yeah,
for Genesis, this emulator doesn't work, but there is
interesting.
probably like different emulators.
Oh, actually, I didn't know it didn't do Sega. Interesting.
Yeah, it is a bit specific. Like it does support a lot of consoles, but not everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. Okay, cool. So what's the next step? Like, what are we doing next?
Well, as a next step, I don't really have anything else because that would become a bit more advanced, and we are already quite into overtime. So I don't know if chat also still has the energy.
But
like it might be a nice part 2, you know, because we were thinking a bit about making this a series.
Yes. And
so like
I think that's
as a part 2, we could look more into things. Like we could continue from here.
I think it might be interesting too to essentially make me go through the steps. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like have you apply it. That would be a nice start of the podcast. Yeah.
Exactly. Like now that we've like we know we had the lesson. Now it's like okay, now Catnip's gonna try and like let's see him try out these things that we learned like a month ago. Or
and by the way, like to bring it more into context, this technique that I just learned you today, that was basically what I did to make that DK94 Infinite Lives hack stream.
Yes, I remember we did that. We used the breakpoints.
That like I used exactly that tool to make it work.
I remember that. Yes, the cheat engine.
Yeah.
So it definitely has its uses.
That was the first part. The second part would then be to like use that memory to get into the code and change stuff in there.
Yes.
And that would make a nice part 2.
Yes, and I was gonna say we're essentially gonna be making like a hack on stream.
Let's make it a preview.
Sure.
Then you'll get into this stuff. Like this is quite an advanced menu.
We're missing most of it. We're missing some of it. Sorry. Next time I'll have a 16:9.
There's some code. This is the code of the game, and we will learn how to like read this code a little bit and work with it. That could be a nice part 2.
I agree. Well, Menblock, thank you so much. I feel like I actually like learned something new, and I'm not a pro by any means, but it helped make binary and just all these different like hexadecimal stuff like just actually make a bit more sense.
The goal is basically to demystify it. Like you don't have to do a lot of these things the raw way with many games, but it is very important to have good context about the underlying system, that you like.
Yeah, it's putting a good foundation,
everything into context.
Yeah, like you're not just like I don't know what I'm doing. It's like no, I understand that.
It makes you understand the tool that you're working with as well, because well, the tool had to use those low-level concepts. And now you might understand why this tool has a limitation, or why it has this quirk that you have to get used to.
And yeah, and then like you said too, if there's something you want to change, now you have some kind of way to start that. Like I want to change how this weapon works, or I want to see this life or enemy or whatever it is. Now you have some kind of starting point for that.
What I've even done, let's see if I still have that. Yeah, here. Like I experimented a bit with RAM values, because I can just see, okay, so this value is being read from a lot. So let's just change this value and see what happens. So let's change this to, I don't know, FF. And now we have a grayscale filter.
Does it work? Like you can move around and all that?
Yeah, it worked. The game still is perfectly, well, except for like this weird artifact on the side. The game is perfectly functional. Funny, right?
That's fascinating though, yeah, like...
You can do a lot of interesting stuff. Like, this is basically a filter set. So, again, instead of interpreting it as a number, it's now a range of this digit controls grayscale, and this digit doesn't. So if you put this to, like, 7, let's see, no...
It's like Game Boy.
Here, now it's less grayscale. So if you bring it back to FF, now it is more grayscale. So apparently that last digit controls the grayscale. And if you put this on 0, now the background disappears. So apparently the digits around the lower side control whether the background should appear.
Exactly what you're talking about, just messing around with stuff.
Yeah. And just messing around, and eventually you will start to like see through the matrix, so to say, to understand what these things are doing and why they are doing it. And then after you have the game-specific knowledge, you learn to recognize some patterns in other games.
Because yeah, there's always going to be headers. There's always going to be like...
You'll build up this knowledge.
Yeah.
But you can only do it if you experiment a bit with it. Because if you just read about it, you're probably gonna like shove it apart, like shove it to the side, forget about it, and then do nothing.
Yeah, even
You
just
gotta
doing
work with your knowledge to like get that in your mind.
I even think like what you just did, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, on line 500 or 400, I'm just gonna change this one digit, and it's like, oh wow, I had no idea it would do X, Y, Z.
Eventually, you'll get a feeling for like which numbers are probably interesting and which ones probably aren't.
Especially with the color coding.
For example,
right? Like,
for example, all these zeros, they are not being read. They're
pull it
not
over a little bit?
doing anything. So I'm just skipping over. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so we missed
All these zeros, like they are not doing anything. It's just zeros. Like they are not interesting. They are not doing anything.
Okay.
Like here's the hot stuff. Like a lot of stuff is happening here.
And it's always like looking for the red kind of thing for the changes.
Yeah, like with the red, it's like harder to change because, well, the game is still changing them constantly.
Yeah, so you can't change it.
We would have to like fix it in a cheat code. That the game can't change it anymore, basically. But yeah.
Interesting.
That's basically what I wanted to show you. So
yeah.
I hope you enjoyed. I hope chat enjoyed.
Yes, and
I hope
Menblock,
you learned something.
What are projects people can check you out for? Like what can people find that Menblock has done or helped with, or
in terms of things that you can find? Like I've mostly published things around tooling. So one thing that I did is actually made a cheat finder like this for Mason. Except it was an older project of Mason. So now the emulator that I made the patch for is deprecated. So don't download that one anymore. This one is much better.
But
for like that year that it was still there,
at its time.
It was useful probably to some people.
That's so cool.
At least it was for me, because I really had like I needed a cheat finder for a SNES game that I was looking into. And there wasn't a cheat finder, but there was one in the old version of Mason. So I looked through how that cheat finder works, and since basically the SNES version of Mason was a improved version, it probably couldn't have changed by that much. So I just started like plugging the old code in there and seeing what broke.
And it's funny how it pretty much works.
Cheat engine. It did take like an afternoon of tweaking, but eventually I got it to work.
That's impressive. That's pretty quick though. That's impressive. We actually have a strategy in chat, which is to right click and click freeze, so you pause the emulator. Then you type a value, then freeze the spot, then unpause the emulator.
Yeah, for like this kind of stuff. So what we can do is we can pause it. Now nothing changes because it paused.
Oh, I see. Then you get like a.
You could basically say like, you can like fix this in some way. In case of Mason, you will have to. In the case of Mason, you'll have to make it into a cheat code.
Interesting. But yeah, no. So for those wondering, you don't have to have it like running. You can have it paused, and it works too.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Menblock, is there any final thoughts or any final things you want to share or say or shout out or?
Well, yeah, not really actually. Like I just hope you enjoyed this talk, like getting to know a bit more about me and getting more knowledge about Mega Man hacking now, just hacking in general.
Yeah, no, this was actually, it was so fascinating. I always love learning a bit more, and I feel like we learned a lot of new facts about you, new things that we didn't know before. People probably learned all about your Minecraft history and how extensive that was. About your favorite ice cream flavor and how you don't have one. And and about how we're the different time zone. You're not the different time zone. Yes. We're the different time zone.
You're different. We are just perfectly regular.
Yes, we're the problem.
It is a Dutch political saying, gewoon normaal doen, which is just do normal. That's normal. The saying. Just do normal.
So as we close Romhack podcast today, do normal. And I'll sign us off. I was CousinCatnip, and this was
Romhacking podcast.
Menblock. He's not gonna say his name. Menblock. All right, I will. I will see y'all next time on the.
It's the Romhacking
podcast. Oh, there.